And yes, I am still laughing because we just got done with world famous rock photographer Neil Zlozower. And if you don't know Neil, you know his work, but if you've never heard him talk or seen an interview with him, he is high energy.
He's a motherfucker.
He is hilarious.
Zero filter. I will put, if we need disclaimers, and we don't really like censor ourselves or anything. So YouTube and any platform out there that is easily offended, get ready. This is kind of a disclaimer, I guess. He has no filter. So be prepared to hear inappropriate commentary about people, about other famous people for the most part. But he is a great artist. I would hate to be censored in a way that people wouldn't get to hear this or watch this, because he is a fucking true artist and his paintbrush is a camera.
Yeah. We joined him. We brought him into the room and he immediately spotted this Faster Pussycat poster in my background. He goes, I took that photo. And I know that over to my left is a shot of Guns N' Roses that he took. And we talked about the photos on the back of Van Halen 2. And he's got his own books. He's taken photos that you've seen a million times. You just may not have known they're his photos. But he's been doing this for a long, long, long time. He might be most famous for his Van Halen photos, but it's hard to say because he's taken so many iconic images of so many artists.
I would think it would be either Van Halen, Poison, or Motley Crue, because that's kind of his fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of what you're going to see his name on, Van Halen 2 on, and you're going to see his name on a lot of Motley Crue shit. And definitely Poison.
Yeah, he's based in Hollywood, and he grew up around the scene. And he even says in the interview he's drawn towards bands that have an image and an attitude. So, and he even says, I like shooting all the bad boys. Anybody that's got a attitude and swagger and a look or whatever. So that basically means a lot of the '80s bands from Hollywood.
Yeah, but not to just keep it at a Hollywood level, but he's global. He shot Led Zeppelin, and Deep Purple, and
he got his start doing Aerosmith and Ted Nugent. So he started in the '70s. Kind of maybe some of his more well-known photos, for example, would maybe be the '80s stuff, but. Yeah, his career runs the gamut. He's got 70s photos of
73. I think we talked about 1973 was his first magazine cover. That's a long time ago. I mean, he's about 70 years old, so. And you wouldn't know it. He's got the attitude of a pissed off teenager. And he just, I don't want to say angry old man, but I guess that's really what it is. But it's kind of like this angst ridden teenager guy when I think about it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is he uses that personality to pull personality out of his subject. So he gets great photos because he's basically barking and yelling and attacking the whole time, and he gets the shot because the people are responding to his energy.
He doesn't have a filter. He doesn't know when he's yelling. He doesn't know when his words that he's using are actually making the paint peel off the wall. He doesn't realize it, and so that's why I kind of gave a little kind of a shallow disclaimer. That I hope people are not going to be easily offended by his.
If you listen to this show,
eccentricities.
Yeah, if you listen to this show, you won't be offended. I don't think we've had guests with maybe more of a filter, yes, but I think Neil's saying anything you haven't heard at work or in at the bar or whatever. So
and you know what? He's a decent I've worked with him enough. He's a decent guy. He's understanding. He's not this, he's a ball buster, but he means well. He's got a big heart. He's got kids. He just tells it like he sees it and like he wants it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, gotta love him.
Yeah. Obviously,
unbelievable person. Yeah.
Very, very passionate about rock and roll. And that's why he gets the good shot. And we all benefit from it, because my room is full of posters, and the record collection has his work, and he's got 3 or 4 books out now. He's got 3 on Van Halen alone.
Yeah. One thing that we didn't really, and we need to really talk about his website and his documentary, but I wanted to say, we didn't really talk about his opinions on why he doesn't do photo shoot anymore, why he doesn't shoot, why he's not behind the camera anymore. And I want to say, I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth, especially his. You know, photographers have a tough time because he comes from a place and time where you got paid for your work and they bought your photos, and that's how you paid your rent if you were an artist / photographer. And nowadays, it's like when someone needs photos, they just go on the internet and steal it. Well, that's why he doesn't do that. That's why it's, and there's a lot of photographers from, I'll say, just back in the day, not to put a date on it, that are much like Neil. They don't work a whole lot anymore, but when they do, the only way you can get those photos is buy them from that artist's website. Kind of, it's a Napster thing, right? It's a file sharing thing. If you go steal music, steal a photograph, hey, it's the same thing. That's still his intellectual property. What he like squeezed out of that artist to put on film, if you will, I'll use the term film loosely. Yeah. That's his property, and that's what's going on. That's sure, it's the band's likeness, but he's doing the work. He's creating something. He's using the energy you give him to create something original for you in turn. But yeah, it's a shit business, which is why photographers, it's like, I want to be a musician. Do you really?
Yeah, I mean, we live in an age where all creative types are going to have their stuff, unfortunately, pillaged and borrowed and stolen. You know, as a musician, I've seen some of my writing get, taken and put on other websites or whatever. And certainly Neil, with all of his images, over the years, and especially when they're as good as they are. Yeah. I don't blame him. He's had a long career, and he's doing fine for himself. So, there comes a time you want to kick back and take it easy, a little bit easier anyway. And, I started the interview saying, how are you even still alive all those years partying with Van Halen?
Well, see, he likes that kind of shit.
Oh, yeah,
He will egg you on to talk about the darkness that he has walked through and survived.
Yeah, so, and this episode is full of that stuff. He's great with all the stories. He doesn't mind sharing, and we appreciated that. So
yeah, he's a crazy son of a bitch, man. He's crazy. He's as dark as he is. He's really bubbly, and so you have to remember that when he's gone dark. Just wait, the sun's going to come out, and it's just as enjoyable for those of you who are just laughing at how fucking crazy dark he'll go for a second, because he'll go off and tell you how he really feels. Is that such a crime for someone to tell you how they really feel? No lies on how he's feeling. See, so that's real. So yeah, what a great personality, and he's given a lot to the world. His stories are, I mean, we barely had to say anything.
I know. Yeah, I've got this list of questions, and I think we touched on half of it. But I love people like that. You just wind them up and let them go. And as long as what's coming out of their mouth is pure gold, why interrupt? He's like, his stories were fantastic.
I might be wrong about this, because it's not something that he talked about, or that I even asked him, or I even thought of. But I want to say, I don't think he does a shit ton of interviews with people, especially like this. I just don't think that he does.
Yeah, we need to thank Jared, our producer, Jared Tuten, for hooking this up. He's got a buddy out in L.A. that's tight with Zloz, and Zlozower is a huge Dangerous Toys fan. So
yeah, he is. And back to Jared, it's kind of there's a full circle going on here because I asked Neil to do our podcast, and then unbeknownst, Jared, who also works for Smokey Robinson, there's a guy that works for Smokey that is buds with Neil. And so Jared is standing there, and he's standing there with Smokey and with Smokey's, crew. And there's a guy hanging with Neil Zlozower, and Neil Zlozower, I think, shot Pariah. So there's this full little weird, elixir of memories and going, dude. He's like, dude. And then I'm like, yeah, dude. Yeah. I just talked to Neil last week on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and he wants to do it. Yeah. Well, I got his number, and I got his number on the cruise, but I called Neil and he wouldn't return my call. And he says it's because I called the house, not the studio. And I was like, oh, excuse me. And then whatever, it all came together, and by a little bit weird, crazy turn of events. But you know what? When you're talking about Neil Zlozower, expect that kind of shit to be just normal day life.
It's going to be a little topsy-turvy, but it all worked out in the end. We were happy to have him. What a great story. What a great interview. You're in for a good one, folks. Hang on tight. Neil Zlozower, world-famous rock and roll photographer, today on the Talk Louder podcast.